Hi, my name is Mackenzie, and today I will be discussing the article that I chose for this project, a study to assess suicidal behavior among various psychiatric disorders. I chose this study because September is Suicide Awareness Month, so I figured it would be a good study to look into, and it was also pretty easy to understand and work through. The study looks at 120 different patients with various psychiatric disorders, including anxiety, depression, OCD, and alcohol use disorder. They had 40 with depression, 40 with anxiety, 40 with depression and anxiety, 40 with OCD, and 40 patients with alcohol use disorder. Some of the methods that were used to gather this information were the HAM-D, the Hamilton Depression Rating Scale used for measuring symptoms of depression, the HAM-A, the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale, used for measuring the severity of anxiety, the YBOCS, which is used to measure the severity of OCD symptoms, and AUDIT, which is Alcohol Use Disorders Identification Test. These methods were used to understand the severity of each of these patients and the severity of their symptoms that they are dealing with. is Here is my graph down here at the bottom, just right here. You can see alcohol use disorder got cut out a little bit, but that is what the green is. And you can see they used a pie chart to show that it is split evenly three ways. Most of these patients, they all were within the age of 18 to 60. They gave consent to be interviewed, and they were clinically stable for an interview as well. And you can see that they put all of this in this lovely graph up here for us to view. Some of the key findings of this study kind of shocked me, I guess. 30% of participants during the study had current suicide ideation. 12.5% had actually attempted suicide in the past year. And the World Health Organization does recognize suicide as a global health crisis. I don't want to say crisis, don't quote me on that, but the WHO does recognize it as a problem, a worldwide problem. The study does stress that it is important to look at suicide ideation across the board, not just with patients who suffer from depression, as most people would quote unquote assume. Patients that had OCD and anxiety also struggled with suicide ideation, like people with depression did. Here's another lovely graph. This shows the breakdown of the suicide attempts between the different types of disorders that they were studying. Out of 120 patients, this is the graph that they put together. Um, and so I really liked how they used kind of some charts like this just because it was really simple just to kind of glance. Instead of having to read down the entire thing, it was really nice just to have one little table with all of the information in there. Some of the reflections from this study that I got was that it is important. One, it's Suicide Awareness Month, so I did want to bring some light to that just to show, that not everyone who just struggles with depression struggles with suicide ideation. This study, they did put an emphasis on uh, psychiatrists, psychologists that are studying their patients. They do need to understand that depression is not the only mental disorder that has suicide ideation with it. It was actually shown across the board in this specific study. And it is a worldwide global issue. So studies like this are really important um, in suicide prevention and education. My conclusion on this study is that it was a very well done study. I wish they would have gone a bit further and maybe discussed what possibly helped patients with their suicide ideation and kind of charted that out. That would have been really cool. Just to see like what maybe helped, what different people or different psychiatrists, psychologists can try for their patients. So I do wish that there would have been kind of a little more looking into that. The study is significant because it opens up our eyes and shows us that suicide is not just a trait that comes with depression. A lot of people, you tend to assume depression, correlates with suicide, but that is actually not the case. People with many different mental disorders suffer from suicide ideation, and I think that this study did a great job in showing that. That is all that I have for us today. I am Mackenzie. Thank you for watching, and if there's any questions, just post them below.